Hi, this is David from GSI. I'm here with Bill and Scott from the LAGQ, and we're doing some duos tonight on a couple of historically related guitars, and there's an interesting story behind that. Before we did that, I thought we should talk about the music that they're going to be playing.
Well, we thought we would do something that was kind of holiday themed, and our good friend Mark Small, he's a wonderful player, arranger, composer, and especially a noted writer for Acoustic Guitar Magazine, good friend. He did a really beautiful arrangement of Silent Night that actually was recorded here with Ava Benica and Scott.
So, right over there.
Yeah, so Scott turned me onto this arrangement. I hadn't played it before, but it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, we thought we'd add that. It's just such a really striking, I mean, how many times have we all heard Silent Night, right? But this is such a striking arrangement. It definitely goes outside the box. Yeah. And it's just wonderful. So we had to do it.
And Mark Small is a good friend of ours too. He's been here many times.
Oh, yeah.
He's bought a couple of guitars, so.
There you go.
Yeah, great guy.
It's exciting to play on this, this historic guitar and it's an adjustment, I have to say, because it's little, and well, I guess people's fingers were smaller back then.
Well, I read in the link you sent me, I read that they're both 650 scale, correct? So they're just as long as we should be used to, but the spacing is much more narrow, and so it does take some adjustment.
And the neck shape too is a little bit thinner.
The neck shape is definitely thinner,
Yeah.
It does take a little adjustment, but super sweet, warm. There's,
old world.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he'd never made a Millennium style.
No, he didn't. No, that hadn't been done yet. Yeah.
But you were telling us about the background of how this one, the Fleta, came into being.
Yeah, that's the interesting story. So this guitar was, well, you're already familiar with this one because we had it here a year and a half ago and you came in and recorded on it. This is one of Torres's, his first one, FE17 from 1864. And it needed regular servicing throughout its life, And so it was visiting repair shops. And if you look inside, there's a series of repair labels, including Enrique Garcia. It went through several shops over the decades. And in 1936, it was on the workbench of Ignacio Fleta. And so while Fleta was working on it, he had the grand idea to build a copy. And that's this guitar. This is a structural copy. He decided to do an homage to the Barcelona makers with the carved head and the intricate inlay work and everything. This is very untypical of Fleta. Yeah. Fleta built bigger guitars typically, although at this period he wasn't really a full-time guitar maker yet. He was mainly a violin maker. I think this is his 20th guitar. If you look on the label, I think it says number 20. He was inspired to do this when he had this sitting on his bench. And this is the kind of the fun thing about Torres guitars, is a lot of times when guitar makers have the chance to inspect a Torres, they want to try seeing if they can do that too.
Right.
So there's a whole tradition of it. People still do it to this day.
Right.
But Fleta even did it in 1936. So this is a one-off. And it's a kind of we think this is probably the first time these guitars have been reunited since 1936.
Wow. It's interesting that he made a structural copy, but he didn't go out of his way to copy all of the cosmetic details, these interesting inlays and the headstock is completely different, carved and
But the purfling is amazing. I mean, just the detail and beauty.
I know.
I mean, it's there, but also he did his own thing.
It's very untypical of Fleta because the Barcelona school is famous for having these really fancy schmancy makers like this. But Fleta has always been seen as a guy who did this sort of plain wrap, kind of very, very conservative looking, very little ornamentation. So this guitar, in a way, kind of connects him to his predecessors in Barcelona.
Now, this would be maple, right?
That's maple.
And
so is this.
The grain looks almost identical, just different finish.
Yeah, he was using, since he was a violin maker, he used this sort of darker violin formula, and always did to the end. And that's another very interesting thing about Fleta, is that he was building these things like cellos and violins.
So it's got a lacquer, like a
that's shellac, yeah.
Shellac, like a violin.
Yeah, but he put color in it.
I love this.
The meander pattern in the middle there?
Yeah, it's kind of geometric.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of the USC Trojan.
Well, it's a Greek pattern, I think. It's it's called a meander, Meander, yeah.
There you go.
So that's sort of the story of these guitars. So there's this really cool, unique, and it's just really crazy cool that we get to bring these two together at the same time and in the same place. After, 80-something years, It'll be 86 years.
And what year was this built?
1864.
1864.
And this is 1936, the year the Spanish Civil War started.
You know,
So-
I haven't done the research. I wonder what year Hans Gruber wrote Silent Night. You know?
I was thinking about that.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not, because he played guitar.
Sure,
He was a guitarist.
yeah. Don't know.
Yeah. But, you know, it is kind of amazing, you know, like you know, when I played, and, you know, the sustain and the full, you know, you would expect, you know, a guitar that's such a skinny body, you know, compared to, you know, the big cannons of today.
Well, I'll say,
It's
you know, a
amazing.
lot of modern builders, right? They still, as you say, they're still trying to replicate. They want to see if they can do this. And I've heard a lot of those results not matching sound, and yet Fleta got it when he built this. They both have the warm, creamy kind of sound.
Sure.
So he got it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he was also closer in history to that time period, and so it wasn't that long ago that these guitars were being made, and he was still sort of in the middle of the tradition. We're a lot more removed now.
Yeah.
And we have modern, you know, tools and all kinds of things. They were basically working with the same kind of hand tools. They didn't have band saws and the kinds of modern equipment that people have now. So much more similar in style.
Laser
build.
scans.
Yeah, exactly, stuff like that. It had to be done by hand.
Do both of these belong to Jonathan
Yes.
Kellerman?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I want to thank Jonathan for giving us the opportunity to play these amazing guitars. It's, you know,
Fantastic.
You know, you almost feel the ghost of Tárrega over your shoulder. You know, it's like
With a cigarette, of course.
Yeah.
Does this one have the cigarette burns?
That one, I think, no.
That was another one.
No, there were three that we had here, and it was the middle one, the second one, that still had the cigarette burns.
I think this is absinthe. Here.
Could be, yeah. Anyway, that's sort of the story, you know, in a nutshell.
Thanks for telling us about this. This is a real pleasure.
Well, thanks for coming in and doing this. A lot of fun.
Pleasure, anytime.